Welcome back to Brand Champions. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host. Again, this is brought to you by Teal, the agency. And for today's conversation, we have Eric Gray from Maverick Content Studio. And Eric, glad you joined us today.
Thanks so much. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, want to get into the heart of the matter of branding with you, and you focus a lot on content for the brand. So what kind of conversations are you having with companies when you're first meeting with them to really help tell their stories and get their messages out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it starts with the way the world has changed with cell phones and technology and social media. There's an old way of doing brand building, and it's TV and it's print, and some of those have been long gone forever. But man, you'd be surprised how many brands still are spending so much time on channels that they're not reaching guests. I say guests because I used to work at the theme parks. But when I think about where brands are being built today, it's on mobile, it's on social. And so how can brands evolve their strategies, evolve their storytelling techniques to really connect with people is where we spend a lot of our time. And so we focus primarily on social and digital and content and YouTube and podcasts. We like to say if it's engaging marketing, relationship building marketing, we do that because we think that relationship is at the core of where brands are being built today.
And that makes a lot of sense, and I can definitely understand where you're coming from. Briefly, I worked at a Yellow Pages company that was evolving into a digital marketing agency about 10 years ago. Yeah. And there were a lot of companies that really were stuck. They had to get their full page ad in the Yellow Pages. That was their primary advertising still, and it was a very interesting conversation because digital has changed, and everyone is focusing on the phones. But trying to create a message that resonates with an audience, sometimes there are companies that really are stuck in their old ways. How are you convincing them that they need to make a change?
I mean, first of all, it says brand champions on the screen behind you, right? Like, brands have to understand that they have to have a story to tell. Why do you matter to your customers? If you stopped existing today, what would the world be missing because you're now gone? And once they kind of understand their purpose, once they kind of and it's more than just some words that they put on a wall, but once they really understand their purpose, really understand their audience and the value proposition, then it is about kind of reach and frequency, which sounds a little bit like a traditional model of advertising. But at the end of the day, some of the ways that we're connecting now just have to be done differently. And so when I take a brand and try to say, okay, now how do I move you into what we're doing on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube? Foundationally, everything changes. The length of the content changes. How you create content changes. I've got clients that we talk to all the time where I'm like, what if you recorded this on an iPhone? And they freak out. And I'm like, well, creators are building massive audiences on TikTok through their iPhone, and you as a brand think you're too good and you need to go rent a red camera and have 20 people here to shoot a commercial that no one's going to watch. So it is a little bit of trying to convince people of where the world I shouldn't say going, where it's gone, and where the opportunity is to get your message out there. But to do that, it's a big mindset shift. And so sometimes it does feel a little bit like turning the Titanic, for sure.
No, it absolutely is, and you give a really good point where reach and frequency really is the go-to with TV and radio, but it's very different when you're fighting with an algorithm trying to get the message out there. Are there ways that to push it through so people are really getting that reach and frequency?
Yeah, so I grew up in sports radio, so my beginning days were producing an afternoon drive talk show in Dallas and San Antonio. From 3 to 6, my job was to keep people entertained, kind of through content, just like we're doing today. And so I wasn't a trained marketer. And my story as I came into marketing, that's a much longer story, I was able to bring this mindset of if you create content people want, you make it valuable and interesting, invite them in to participate, you will build an audience. And today's brand building is all about push messaging. And what I'm trying to say and what we're trying to preach is this is an attract model. How can we do things that are so valuable and so consistent that brands actually build an audience? Again, it sounds controversial to a lot of kind of traditional brand marketers and traditional media people. But at the end of the day, that's what people want, is they want to be a part of a story. They want to be a part of community. And then to do that, so your question was, how do you then do that on the channels? Well, everything has to change when it comes to how are you creating, how frequently you're creating, what types of stories are you telling. And so a lot of that has to shift as you talk about you can't just take a TV commercial and put it on TikTok. It will not work. People will ignore it, people will skip it, and you will have done nothing. It would have helped your brand none. You'll spend tons of money and done nothing for your brand. So then how do we go into TikTok in a way that's native, that's interesting, and that people want to be a part of? That's a big challenge.
It is a big challenge, but it sounds like you are up for the challenge with the work that you're doing with your clients. So we thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this great information with us today.
Yep, you got it. Always here for you. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us as well. The world has changed. We're in the current right now. Reach and frequency are very different when it comes to the algorithms, and you really have to cater to these platforms and how people are absorbing that information to make sure that your brand is getting the message out there. So this is really great information from Eric today. We thank him again for sharing it. Go out, have a great rest of today, and we will see you next time.